Hello, and welcome to Oh No Disney Adults, your monthly dive into what's going on in the world of Disney theme parks. Sometimes we'll touch on movies and things, but mostly theme parks because that's where the real love is and where all the juicy gossip tends to lie most of the time as well. I am Drew, and I'm joined as always with my co-host Harry.
Hello.
And yeah, man. So this is nice. I'm glad that we're doing this again a little more regularly. I like that this is becoming a thing. It's pleasant. It's enjoyable. It's something to look forward to. Someone else to waffle at about whatever's going on in the parks and everything else. But yeah, you're good, yeah?
Yeah, mate. I'm ready to talk some mouse today.
Ready to talk mouse. That's what we
Also,
want.
been loving it as well. Been enjoying it. I think it's been great.
Yeah, man. Good. I wouldn't want to think I was holding a gun to your head to do these things, so that's very reassuring. Yeah, we've got a few sort of news articles and things this week. There's obviously we're kind of skimming from the cream of the crop for what's happened over the past month. And again, like we talked about this last time, but there's a lot of rebuilding and things going on at the moment. So I think it's interesting just kind of seeing what stages those things are going in. And then obviously as they get closer to doing the reopenings, they'll tease little nuggets of information about what we're going to find with new stuff that's opening and refurbs and things. I think it's bizarre that Big Thunder Mountain is still closed.
Oh yeah.
I think it's weird that we don't know what's in there, like what I know they've relayed a load of the track, but apparently there's rumors of like a new scene in there. They've talked about like the music and the lighting and stuff being different in the caves as you go in, like all the stalactites and all of that sort of stuff. So I don't know, man. I think they've got a lot of work to do to try and top the one over in Paris anyway, because Paris has got that bit where you go through the water in it. But
yeah, I'd say Paris has some really good competition to give out. I think ride-wise, oh my god, I prefer the Pirates there. I prefer the Big Thunder there.
Yeah.
Hyperspace Mountain I love it. So does Ellie. Believe it or not, that was my first ride at Disney Paris. We just went straight to Hyperspace Mountain. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah. Hyperspace is wonderful. I mean, it's well documented that we're Star Wars nerds anyway, so that twist is very nice. That was the ride that I went on when I went for the first time in 2015 that informed me that I actually like roller coasters, because up until that point, when I'd been on roller coasters as a kid, they'd made me feel ill. And when I'd gone to like local fairs and stuff and been on the waltzers, that had me like hurling. Like I made bad choices. I have a memory of going to like a fun fair and going on the waltzers, but I just downed like a foot-long hot dog and a large Pepsi, and then like after that I was just like on the curb, like head between my knees, just yakking for about half an hour. And so, but like I went on the Space Mountain in Paris and I was like, oh my goodness, it turns out that I'm actually really into these. This was brilliant. Let's do it again. And then it's just been non-stop from there. But yeah, man, Paris is such a weird one, because when we've talked about this, so we won't spend a lot of time on it, but I think the fact that French customer service and American customer service are two very different beasts, and you receive a very different experience when you go to the French parks. The French parks are also small, and a lot of people say that they get the least amount of love out of all the other parks, which, some people will agree with that, some people disagree. But yeah, I think you're bang on the money that like some of the ride experiences there outclass what they have in the American parks. I mean, I wouldn't say I prefer it, but I really love their Tower of Terror, because they've actually tried to make it kind of scary. There's like a creepy factor to Tower of Terror, but you could still take a fairly brave sort of 6-year-old on it and not worry too much. Whereas they're actually trying to like freak you out. The cast members will jump scare you and stuff in the queue for Tower of Terror in France. They step it up a notch there. So that's pretty cool. I quite like that about the place. Have you got any plans to go back there anytime soon? I can't remember if we talked about this last month.
Not Paris at the minute. I want to. I mean, obviously, we're inevitably going to go back anyway. But at the minute, we just keep putting more money into our Florida fund, and then we want to go to other Disney parks as well. But yeah, we will go back to Paris. We definitely want to go back after Arendelle has died down a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's going to be bananas for most of this year, because you've got that whole section opening up, and then at some point the Lion King water ride that they're doing that's like next door to that as well. So I mean, good for them. It's nice that they've got like a big new attraction to kind of pull people back to the parks. But yeah, I'm with you there. I think just kind of hanging on for a while until the madness dies down. We were the same with we could have gone to Epic Universe last year, but I was just like, that was opening year. It was going to be crazy, and I think it'll still be busy. It'll still be busy this year, but I think, you know, the mega crowds will have at least died off a little bit for that. I think our plan is to go to Paris next year because I think we're taking a year off from Florida next year, just to let the points build up. And, you know, like these holiday, like a Florida trip every year ain't cheap. So,
no.
And so we were just kind of like, well, you know, and a Disneyland Paris trip isn't necessarily cheap, but like it's definitely much more affordable than you know, like your flights and everything else over to the States. So yeah, I think we're going to head over next, like April time, something like that. Like we'll miss out Easter, obviously, because but yeah, I think that's the plan, is to go and do that. Anyway, first order of business. So Aerosmith are now gone from the Rock and Roller Coaster. All of the signage has been taken down, and their name's been taken off the big bendy guitar and everything else. And they started to paint it and redress the outside for the Muppets takeover. Which, are you a big Muppets guy? Are you on Team Kermit? Or
but I am very excited to see it, and I think it'll be really good.
Yeah.
I'm quite excited. I like it when they switch things up. Obviously, it's nice to like keep it the same as what it was, but I like new things. I like innovation. I like seeing just new stuff in general. And I believe that I think the Muppets is a good fit for it. And also, they were getting rid of Muppets things already. So I feel like it would be criminal to get rid of them completely. So just retheming Aerosmith is fine. I think.
Man. I'm a little surprised that they never bothered to put anything into Animal Kingdom, being as so much of the roster is animal based, you know.
Yeah.
Gonzo is whatever he is, but, you know, maybe he could be from a planet adjacent to Pandora or something. But, you know, you've got frogs and pigs and bears and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. Well, it struck me that they'd be able to find a home in Animal Kingdom. But Hollywood Studios is where they're staying, I guess. I mean, you know, they are movie stars, so there is that. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think, like, it makes sense on a lot of levels. Like, obviously, retheming a ride is a lot cheaper than building a new ride. You can kind of please both groups of people that, like, you know, you're keeping the ride itself, which is a very thrilling, big roller coaster. It's their only inverting coaster. So you're getting rid of a big thrill if you close that down entirely. But then, yeah, you're also kind of providing a fresh draw by, you know, putting some new animatronics in there and changing up the music and, yeah, essentially the redress. And it means it doesn't necessarily have to be closed for all that long either. So I think that's going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to checking that one out. I think it should be open by the time we go later in the year. I'm certainly hoping so. I can't see them having it closed for more than a few months to get everything else done, really, because it's kind of just a lick of paint at this point.
Well, yeah. The way I feel like Disney are very slow with building things. So if they were doing a whole new ride, it would just take years. Where I mean, I know nothing about building coasters, so I have absolutely no say or qualification to say in this in general. But like,
it's the internet, Harry. You're allowed to give your opinions. In fact, you're encouraged. And the wronger they are, you just say them louder. It's fine.
True. But like in my head, I'm sat there like, surely, like safety wise, yeah, I can see that taking a long time, right? But surely it doesn't take so long to like tweak a few things, or even some roller coasters that aren't that long. Surely, just in my head, it's like, how does it take so much longer? I would love to know, because I quite like to know the ins and outs and everything. But yeah, I'm happy they're only retheming it, because then it means it'll be open by the time I go. Hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. From a purely selfish level, I'm going to get to ride it this time around, and that's what matters. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. No, I think a lot of people are looking forward to it, and it's a very beloved ride. So I think they've done the right thing there by keeping it in, essentially, and then just, you know, slapping some beloved characters onto it. I mean, they essentially did the same thing in Paris, didn't they, with Avengers Flight Force, which I've still not ridden, but you were saying is real good. Again, like, queue system's really fun, and then obviously the ride itself is kind of well realized, so it seems like a pretty sure thing. Apparently the Haunted Mansion is even more covered at the moment. I'm guessing they're kind of doing up some of the outside of that. So like it around that area is very walls and coverings and go away green and all of that sort of stuff, and scaffolding, because of what they're doing with like draining the lake and the building of Piston Peak and everything else. Yeah. Apparently the Haunted Mansion's just, you can't even really see it at the moment, which again, I'm always kind of a little sad about, because I think if it's your first time going to the park and that's like one of the really iconic pieces of
Mm.
of Liberty Square, isn't it? But like of the park in general, you think of like big icons in Magic Kingdom. Obviously, you've got the castle, you've got Space Mountain, I mean, there's a few, but like Haunted Mansions, they've made 2 films out of it, for crying out loud. It's like, it's a big, easy to recognize building. So I think it's always and they have to do it sometimes, I suppose. But it's a bit of a shame if you decide to go for the first time and half the park's just covered up in tarpaulins and stuff. But yeah, I don't think they're doing anything major to it. I think it's just a little bit of TLC, so hopefully that doesn't last too long. But it is interesting walking around at the moment. Same with Animal Kingdom when we went to go on Dinosaur, and it was you just walking down this little tiny corridor of like big MDF boards, like either side of a pathway, and you couldn't see anything else. Very strange. Very, very strange. Eventually, I suppose it'll all open back up and it'll all be whimsical and fantastic and wonderful. Speaking of park icons, the repaint is almost done on the Magic Castle. Have you seen any photos of it?
Yeah.
Like since it's
I've been seeing photos on social media, just it slowly being updated through people's like stories or like just reels on Instagram. But yeah, I've been seeing updates to it. And I mean, I think I said last time, I prefer the pink, and I think we both kind of agreed a bit.
Yeah.
In a way. I am excited for it, though. I mean, I'm excited for it to. This is also another selfish reason, but not entirely. I hope it's done before I go, because I'm taking 2 people who either haven't been since they were 10, which was 20 years ago, or have never been.
Yeah.
So to have it being painted at that time would kind of suck.
A big part of the magic's in that reveal, isn't it? When you come around the corner and then you're looking dead down Main Street, and there it is in all of its splendor. And I think and again, like we've said, we both prefer the pink and the sort of blue and gold and stuff, but I think it's very much a preference thing combined with this is how it looked when I first went there kind of thing. That's always going to be the thing that sticks in your mind. So I totally get that. I don't, if someone else had the exact same opinion about the classic colors, then you're absolutely right to think that. I don't think anyone's right or wrong there. You've just got a preference on color. But apparently there's like one little bit of it that's still pink basically, and the rest of it's almost completely done. So it's absolutely going to be all ready to rock and roll when you guys show up. So I wouldn't have any worries about that. I think that'll be
so excited.
Absolutely fine. Yeah, man, this is it. And again, like we're both taking people who are going for, like you say, either the first time or for the first time in years. I'm doing the exact same thing. We're taking a family where, the mum and the grandma went, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, and then the 2 kids have never been, and they've been to Paris. And I think it's almost better when they've been to Paris, I think, than if they've never been before, because you get an idea in your head about what a Disney park is. Oh, hello, mate. You get an idea in your head about what a Disney park is, having gone to Paris, which is phenomenal in itself. If you go and that's your first part, then that's mind-blowing stuff. But then to walk onto the main street and walk the park in Orlando is something else, man, because you go, oh God, Paris is tiny, this thing's huge, it's spread out so much more, so you get even more kind of wonder out of that, I think, to be honest. But
it's mind-blowing.
I think it's going to be really nice to see the classic colours on the castle, and we've been lucky enough to see both as well, so
for sure,
that's nice. And never that ugly birthday cake thing that they did back in the 90s, which I think I don't think anyone holds that in high regard. I'm yet to hear anyone kind of defending the honour of the cake castle on social media or anything. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 oddballs out there. If you're listening and you loved the cake castle, let me know, I guess, and I'd be very interested to hear, an opinion in defence. But good grief, that thing was weird looking.
Yeah, I'm very happy they changed that.
Yeah. Well, it was because that was to celebrate. Was it the 20th? It was the 20th or the 25th or something like that. I think it was for.
I think so, yeah.
And I think they only had it like that for the year. Whereas obviously with this, same with the statues, the gold statues that you can wave your magic band at. Like I think they were originally only meant to be there for the year, but everyone really liked it, so they just kind of went, let's.
Yeah, I did think that they were only meant to be there for the year, and I'm happy they kept them, because whenever I go, I wave at it and it makes a cool noise, and I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have to pay my respects to Figment whenever I'm about to cross the bridge, at the front of Epcot, and he's there.
Yeah.
I have to go and say hi and wave, and he speaks back to me. And again, it's it's one of a million little things they do that just give you something else to do in the park that's not necessarily going on a ride. Epcot's brilliant for that with like the KidCot stuff and the was Hunt thing that you can do with the app on the phone, and like I love that stuff, and I think we should perhaps do an episode about that at some point. Like our favorite things to do in the parks that aren't the rides and the shows, like all of these little things that, like, when you go for the first time, you'll probably miss them unless you're like a massive nerd like we are and you know about them already. But if you're going and it's like your third, fourth, fifth, whatever time, and you don't necessarily want to spend your entire day just waiting in queues for stuff, there's still so many cool things you can just wander around and do, like the bounty hunting in Galaxy's Edge is a really good example of that. Like,
yeah, I really enjoyed that.
It's so fun. It's so fun, and it helps with the immersion. And anyone can do it, and you don't have to queue for it. But they don't really advertise it at all. So if you don't know about it, you know what I mean, you're gonna miss that entirely. So things like that are really, really nice touches and nice features. Yeah, this is interesting. So direct flights are now available between Orlando and Tokyo. Do you think that will ever impact the way that you book a Disney trip? Do you think you would ever do some time in Orlando and some time over in the Orient?
I think, you know what, I would love to say yes.
Yeah.
Because I would love to like go to Orlando and then go to Tokyo. But my issue would be, two things. I don't think I have that much money. And then I would be in Orlando and I'd be like, well, I need another week here. So I need 2 weeks in Orlando.
Yeah.
And then I'd go to Tokyo and be like, well, I've been here, but I need more time.
It would ultimately need to be about a 6 or 7 week holiday, I think, wouldn't it? Because, to fit everything in. Just so you know, it would take about 15 hours to fly from Orlando to Tokyo. I mean, UK to Japan is longer than that. So, but that's still a journey. That's still, do you know what I mean? You're going to have to fly over to Orlando, reset your internal clock while you're there, and then when you get over to Tokyo, you're doing it again. So that's always worth bearing in mind. But I think in terms of like encouraging US tourism to Japan, that might have a bit of a draw. And I think for people who go to the parks a lot and go to a lot of parks, that might be kind of cool, especially if they're doing decent prices on the flights and things. I can imagine if you're if you're an annual pass holder and you kind of live in the area, if you're in like Kissimmee or somewhere like that, and you wanted to go over to those parks for a week or something like that, then that's kind of cool that they're offering that. I think I'm like you. I think like it needs to be a dedicated trip, but I would be interested to see how many people from the UK kind of do a split trip, in the same way that people will do Orlando and then Anaheim, which obviously is a much shorter flight. It's like 2.5 hours, I think, something like that. But that's something that people will do. People will do. I know people who do cruises, but they'll spend like a week in Orlando, do like a 5-night cruise, and then come back and do another week in Orlando. So it just kind of adds options into like the permutations of how you want to do your Disney trip, I suppose. I
think definitely. I agree. I'd love to, I think it'd be great. And I think people from Orlando will take advantage of that, of course, and, just fly to Japan. I would love to say I would go to Orlando and then Japan as well. But like we just both said, like that would be a very long trip for me. And I think I just need to dedicate time for both. I'm not going to Orlando to fly to Japan. But I hope people who live in Orlando do so, because I think that would be absolutely fab.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. I don't know. Who knows? In 20 years' time, when we've got like another 15 trips to Orlando under our belts each, we might want to kind of do if we've done Orlando 15 times and we've done Japan 5 or 6 times at that point, we might just be like, hey, you know what? A week in each is fine. I kind of know what I want to go for. You never know. But yes, if that's something that you're interested in, the airline is Zip Air. Apparently, that's something that they're introducing now. So I'm pretty sure it comes and goes out of MCO. And not, what's the name of the Melbourne's the other one, isn't it, that they have in Orlando? But MCO is kind of the big international one that most people fly in and out of. So yeah, I think it would be through there. But yeah, kind of a big deal. Next up on the docket, so we were talking a little bit about all the things that are changing and how Disney like to pepper little kind of clues and reveals about what's coming and going. So at the moment, they are redoing what was Animation Courtyard in Hollywood Studios, where the Star Wars launch bay was, where the Little Mermaid show still is. They weren't really using that space for very much. It felt quite, there was some character meet and greets outside. And then there was the launch bay that was meet and greets, and then like a few kind of cabinets with replicas of ship miniatures and things. But it never felt like a space that was being particularly well utilized. So that's all going to change. Apparently, that's all being massively converted into the magic of Disney animation, where they're going to have all sorts of stuff. Some of the things they've talked about recently have been some of the character meet and greets that they're going to have. So there's going to be an area in the animation area that's called Off the Page, and they're going to have some characters there that you can meet, which most of them are people you can meet elsewhere in the park, but I thought it was interesting. So I'll read the list out, and this is like some of the characters you will be able to meet. So I think they'll be like in rotation, or there'll be other ones that are yet to be announced. But so far, it's going to be Mulan, Rapunzel, Chip and Dale, Donald, Goofy, and Stitch. So I don't know if any of those lights your fire in particular. The only one that's not a regular meet and greet is Rapunzel. So I think it's kind of cool that she's being added to the roster of, go and meet this character here, because you know that she's always going to be hanging out here. I don't know if they're like in not the Princess Pavilion, because that's Paris, but what's it called where you can go and meet the princesses?
I would love to tell you, but also the only one that is screaming in my head is the Princess Pavilion.
Okay, whatever. We've revealed ourselves as absolute rank amateurs. Terrible. People are turning the podcast off in droves now because we don't know the answer to this.
Yeah.
If you know what it is, let me know in the comments. But yes, so anyway, I think it's cool. I think it's cool that Stitch is obviously like a massively popular character. The only other places that you can meet Stitch at the moment are occasionally in Tomorrowland if you're willing to stand on the concrete and boil alive. So I think it's going to be cool that there's going to be an air-conditioned spot for you to kind of run into Stitch. That's kind of cool. And then you can meet him if you go to Ohana and do the breakfast at the Polynesian. But obviously that's a meet and greet that comes with quite a price tag, because that ain't a cheap meal there. We did that the first time we met. It was really good because you met Lilo as well. That was the only place you could meet Lilo, and Bean was big into Stitch at the time, so that was kind of, we had to do that. So yeah. And then obviously, Mulan you can normally meet in the China Pavilion in Epcot, but hopefully it'll be like a different costume, different outfit type thing. And then Chip and Dale, Donald, Goofy, those guys are very busy. They're always everywhere. But again, kind of cool that they're going to be there, and there's more animated characters that are going to be out and about to meet. One of the things I wanted to ask you was, are there any characters that you don't usually see in the parks that you would like to meet? Like if anyone from any of the Disney animation or live action.
Yeah, I'd like to meet Hades. That'd be cool.
Yeah, man.
I don't see him too often. I mean, maybe like Halloween time, he's there a lot more.
Well, they've got the Villains Land that they're building at the moment. And they're kind of pushing Hades as one of the main Disney villains these days. You're seeing a lot more merchandise for him than we used to, and he just
more Hades.
Yeah, he does show up a lot at the Halloween stuff, and I think he's part of some of the stage shows and things at that time of year. So yeah, man, Hades would be pretty cool. Is there anyone else that you think like either they used to wheel out or they don't wheel out at all that you're like, man, that'd be really cool to get a photo of that guy in the park? Or
I'd love to meet Obi-Wan.
Yeah, man, that'd be pretty cool. I think with the announcement of what they're doing over in Disneyland, it would be interesting if they bring those changes over to Florida, what kind of characters they'll be introducing. Because even before they did the changes, they had sort of out of timeline characters showing up over in Disneyland anyway, didn't they? They had Sabine, and they had Luke, and they had Ahsoka, and I can't remember if there was anyone else, but certainly those guys are, they're not necessarily sitting within the timeline of the sequel trilogy. So yeah, exactly. Man, Obi-Wan would be really cool to me. There's a whole bunch of the Star Wars guys. For me, and just because he's my all-time favorite Disney character, I'd really like to meet Uncle Scrooge. I would absolutely love to. I know that in the past he's done the flotilla on the river through Animal Kingdom. It's like him and Launchpad will stand there and wave at people, but that's not a meet and greet. That's not a stand and have a photograph with the guy. So I know that the character's there. We've seen him. He exists. He's at the park sometimes. So I would very much like for him to be wandering around. I mean, I think we talked about this a little bit last month as well. When we were kind of talking about things that we wish there was a bit more of. And for me, it was characters walking around like they did at the Cool Kids Summer thing last year. Like just more of that stuff that they had pre-COVID, more random interactions. Because again, it's those things that you haven't planned for that really make like those special memories in your holiday. And I think just, like bumping into Mary Poppins and Bert as they're walking around or whatever, like stuff like that's wicked. Like, when you see Kevin at Animal Kingdom,
Yeah.
and
It's
all
always
of that
great.
kind of stuff. Yeah, it's great. It's really fun, and it's unplanned. You've not gone over to a specific place at a specific time and waited and everything else. Like, it's just this thing that's happened in front of you. So, but yeah, Uncle Scrooge for me. I think any of the DuckTales gang, if they wanted to somehow figure out a Gizmo Duck or a Launchpad McQuack, that'd be great. Yeah. I think any of the kind of Disney afternoon stuff, so like Baloo in his pilot's outfit, or I know Chip and Dale sometimes wear their Rescue Rangers gear. I can't remember where. I think it's like, was it Frontierland? It might have been Frontierland where they used to wear like their,
Yeah, I think it is.
Dale would wear his Miami
Frontierland.
Vice shirt and Chip would have his Indiana Jones stuff on. I could be wrong. But yeah, that'd be pretty cool. And I'm sure everybody's got their own little list of like characters that they'd like to bump into. I think Star Wars wise, in terms of characters that don't currently roam the park, that I'd really like to see. Like Obi-Wan's definitely up there, 100% up there. I'd absolutely love to bump into Ahsoka and get to chat with her a little bit. That'd be pretty cool. Like Anakin, maybe, episode 3 Anakin.
Yeah, or possibly a moody episode 2 Anakin, where he is.
He's just gotten back from the Tusken Raiders camp and he's feeling a bit emotional.
Yeah, that Anakin, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to meet, sorry, not Star Wars related, but maybe like Mushu, so with Mulan.
Okay. Yeah, man,
I think that'd be cool. Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. Just more characters in general.
More characters.
More characters. So other people can queue up to meet them, so I can get in other queues.
Well, this is it. I mean, and I don't know. They might already do this, and they're a very smart company in terms of like figuring out footfall and crowd dispersal and stuff like that. But it wouldn't surprise me if, say if Haunted Mansion's got one of those queues where it's starting to wrap around the lake a little bit. They can deploy Chip and Dale or the Country Bears or Woody and Jesse, and do you know what I mean? And just kind of like plop them over there, have them out for half an hour, just kind of wandering around. It attracts a load of attention, but it pulls people maybe out of that ride queue, so that queue can calm down a little bit and become a little bit more manageable. Yeah. I mean, like I say, they might already do that for all we know. I don't know for sure, but it's certainly a useful tool, I would imagine, for doing that. Just kind of the strategic plop, chucking you out there and kind of drawing people over to this bit of the park as opposed to this bit of the park. Because, it's not official, but I think we all know that they occasionally do that with like their wait times and things. There's a lot of suspicion that they'll raise the wait times if they don't want people queuing up. They'll inflate it by kind of 15, 20 minutes so it looks like unreasonably long to get onto, which is interesting because if you're kind of park savvy and you're like ride savvy, that like, oh, it's like the middle of the week, it's this time of the day. I don't believe that wait time. I did it with Flight of Passage. I think it was like a Thursday afternoon at like 4:00, and they were saying it was like a 55-minute wait time or something like that. And I was like, nope. And then I went, and it was like maybe 15, 20 minutes, something like that. So I think that's part of it. I think if they want to kind of maybe discourage people from doing stuff like that, they will artificially inflate those wait times. But yeah, potentially another tool, if they're not doing it already, to kind of help manage that would be, like impromptu character meet and greets and stuff. And I know they do bits of that, but it feels like they definitely used to do it more. And it'd be cool to kind of whip out some of the lesser known characters. I had an instance where I was just about to leave Hollywood Studios, and next to, like, it looks like a petrol station, but it's where the buggy rental place is, right near the front of the park when you come into Hollywood. Right by there was Geppetto and the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland, just there, like hanging out, saying hi to people. And I was like, it's an interesting one, because if you'd have told me like, oh, like if you go into that building there and wait for 20 minutes, you can meet Geppetto and the White Rabbit, I'd be like, I'm probably all right. But like they were there, and I was like, oh man, that's like, when do you see those two characters? Yeah, like they weren't on the app or anything. Like, and I think part of that is apparently cast member training. So if they've got cast members who are like the handlers for characters, they'll kind of wheel them out and stick them somewhere relatively obscure where people are still going to walk past because it's Disney and there's people all over the park, but like it's not necessarily going to get absolutely crazy, and they are generally less popular characters, so they're not going to get absolutely flooded with attention at the same time. But if you're a big old dork like me, the idea of meeting Pinocchio's dad, I'm like, yeah man, I'll come over and get a photo with you and we can talk about like, you know, moustache care and things like that, which is what we did. So yeah, very nice, just twiddling each other for about 5 minutes. But yeah, there we go. Carrying on with things they've been talking about this Magic of Disney animation area that they're doing. So obviously the idea is it's meant to be a facsimile of like a Disney animation studio. You're going to be able to walk through, you're going to be able to see, you know, like artist areas with the drawing boards, the animation boards, all of that kind of stuff. There'll be characters and things in there. And one of the things that they are doing is an animation like an animation experience. I think it's meant to be in the vein of the thing that they do at Rafiki's Planet Watch, where you sit down, someone comes out, you're given a piece of paper that might have a couple of lines on it, and you're taken step by step through drawing a Disney character that you then get to take your drawing away with you. We did it last time we were there. We drew Car from the Jungle Book. It's really fun. It's a nice way to just cool down for like 15, 20 minutes. And, you know, like, it's really nice. It's just a nice kind of thing to do. I mean, obviously it's over in like Rafiki's Planet Watch anyway, so like 4/5 of the people going to Animal Kingdom don't even care about that, so it's always fairly quiet. So apparently they are doing something like that here, which makes sense because it's meant to be an animation studio, so the idea of being able to go in and take an animation class makes sense. There is some controversy, however. I don't know if you've heard about this already, but they are instead of teaching with a live cast member, it's going to be an audio animatronic of Olaf teaching the class. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think kids will love it. I would like a live cast member still, because it's, you know, it gives something for the cast member to do and be like quite proud of and be like, oh, I had this class, I taught them I went through how to draw Car, and you know, there's a bit more of that like personal touch feel. But I do think kids will love the animatronic of Olaf teaching people how to draw for sure. Like children will like that, but unless they hate Olaf, then maybe not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I personally myself, which I'm not the target audience for this, would like a live person to do it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I think I agree with everything you're saying. I think an animatronic of Olaf is always going to be a big draw for young kids. I think it probably means that they can cycle through classes a little quicker as well.
Mm-hmm.
You're not having to rotate artists on and off for the teaching experience. I think, I don't know, they might have a way around this, but I think if it's just one animation experience and you do that once, are you going to want to go back and do that again? Are you going to go, you know, like, I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong. I love Carousel of Progress, and that thing's the same every single time you go on it.
Yeah,
so I could be wrong. But the idea of going and sitting down and drawing for 15 minutes, but you're drawing like the same thing, and Olaf's making the same jokes at you each time, and I don't know. It could be amazing. I'm really looking forward to like going and doing it when it starts. I don't think I feel particularly strongly one way or the other. I think I'm like you, that if I had the choice, I would prefer a live cast member doing it. I hope they continue doing the one at Rafiki's Planet Watch in some way. I don't think they are, but it'd be nice if they maybe had that set up somewhere else where you could take a version of that, because that was really fun, and obviously they've kind of got all the pre-recorded resources and stuff for that as well. So who knows? But yeah, it's had people kind of calling out, whinging a little bit, which is strange because normally people are very excited for animatronics. You know, when they get announced a new audio animatronic in an experience or a ride or something, people tend to get quite giddy about that and get, you know, they look forward to seeing it. But that doesn't seem to have happened this time. People are just like, no, person, we want a person.
I think because this time the animatronic is taking away the person. I mean, I'm a sucker for animatronics. I love them. I think they're great because I really enjoy how they like work and learning all that as well.
Yeah.
But I think people may be upset because you're taking away someone. Now it's just someone who's going to monitor the animatronic, and that's it. But again, like I said, my actual personal, like, I'm not outraged by this. It's not something I'm like, I'm never going back.
No, and I think if you are outraged, you maybe need to consider your life's priorities and of all the things going on in the world right now, is this the thing worth getting angry about? Spoiler, it ain't. people have strong feelings about this stuff. I think one of the other potential issues, of course, as well, is if a cast member is ill, you've probably got another cast member you can bring in to do that job. If that audio animatronic goes wrong, as modern audio animatronics do often, is that experience then shut down for the day or for several hours? Is that a complete write-off? I think it's a lot easier to replace a real live human teaching that class, because you're going to have a roster of people trained to deliver that anyway, than, when Olaf starts like spouting hydraulic fluid out of his eye sockets and things, and he's terrifying the kids. But hey, we will see. I don't think there's an opening window for that at the moment. I don't know if you've read anywhere or seen anywhere that they've said. I haven't seen anything about when they're opening that up. It's probably going to be a little while. I think they've still got quite a lot of work to do on it, because there's going to be like an outdoor play area and stuff as well.
Yeah.
So there's a fair bit of rebuilding to do. Obviously, they're using like the existing show buildings and redressing them, but it sounds like quite a bit of work's going into what they're doing there. Nevertheless, I think it will be really cool once it's done. Going back to Rafiki's Planet Watch and the things that were going on there. So they have closed that for the time being. That is now off limits. You cannot go there right now because it is being changed into a Bluey experience. Interesting. I don't get me wrong, I love Bluey. As my daughter was growing up, there was a lot of insipid, very difficult to tolerate television shows that she would watch. Awful, awful stuff. Bluey was like my little ray of sunshine, my little like anchor to hold on to. That, it was a show that she loved, that I was like, oh no, this is genuinely good. This is genuinely well written. This is written with like the parents in mind as much as the children. So it's kind of nice that like Bluey's getting its flowers a little bit. Like, it's become this kind of cultural phenomenon. There's a movie coming out, and I think, is it Alton Towers are getting like a Bluey ride and stuff as well. And now they're kind of doing character meet and greets over in Animal Kingdom, because whilst it's an Australian production funded by the BBC, but then ultimately owned by Disney, I think, or I'm not sure what the weird tangle of kind of corporateness is around it. But anyway, yeah, apparently it's all kind of getting a bit of a workaround. So I think they're keeping like all of the conservation station stuff. So, like the little, the area where you can sometimes see the animals getting like their checkups and minor surgeries and things like that. The little areas where they have some of the lizards and the stick insects and stuff. But yeah, they're changing certainly that main kind of hub that you get into a Bluey and Bingo meet and greet area. The affection section is staying open, but that apparently is now going to be populated with Australian animals. So we had, goats and pigs before. That's getting changed. So I don't know what's going to be there, like wallabies and huntsman spiders. I don't know what's going to be there, but
maybe some wombats, maybe.
Yeah, man, a wallaby or two, a kangaroo. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, again, that's like more upheaval at Animal Kingdom. It's crazy. But again, that was one of those areas that I think wasn't necessarily being utilized because people didn't necessarily know about it or know what it was.
Yeah.
Despite it being like a really great place to go and spend an hour or two, it is always
we
fun
went
to
there
go
every time.
Yes. Same.
Ellie literally said a minute ago, whenever I was sat with her, probably about an hour ago now, she said that she hopes it's open when we go. I don't know if it will be, but she really enjoys whenever we go to Animal Kingdom, making a detour there. We spend like an hour, half at least, like there, just relaxing, really, petting some animals, looking around. It's a nice little place just to chill out, come out of it for like an hour and a half. You know what I mean?
Well,
relax.
Yeah, they had Charlotte there, who was the pig that they used as the reference for Pua in the Moana film. So you could kind of go and meet the real life. You can't now; she's dead. But like up until last year, you could go and meet the real life Pua from Moana, which I thought was cool. So I'm assuming again, this is a way to kind of draw more people over to that area of the park and try and get a few more feet through the door there, because perhaps because it was always pretty quiet there, but to be honest, that was one of the things I liked about it. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, kids love Bluey, adults love Bluey. I'm sure it'll be a success. Whether it's got that kind of longevity, I don't know how long something like that's going to stay kind of in the public mindset for. I don't know, but Disney obviously seems to have faith in it if they're actually dedicating an entire area to the show. So pretty cool. And it's apparently meant to reopen in June sort of time. It's not an official word, but apparently some of the cast members have been speaking to people as they've been asking what's going on with it, and they've said, yeah, it's going to open in about 3 months. So again, should be open. But it's one of those things, they're not rebuilding anything. They're just sticking a bunch of new animals in there and a lick of paint and everything else. Yeah, that should be open. Cool. Well, that does it for news from me. I don't know if you've got anything else that you wanted to bring up or talk about in terms of things that are happening in Mickey World at the moment.
No, I mean, I can't think of anything. I've seen some Mickey beignets recently in Epcot, and that
Okay.
made me really excited for Epcot. That was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. You're excited to eat food in Epcot, and who isn't? That's one of the best things.
100%. We've already kind of told our friends that we're going to have a day where we go around Epcot and we're just going to get snacks from everywhere.
Yeah.
Because we have the dine-in plan. So we were originally meant to go last year, and they were doing. I don't know if they're still doing the dine-in plan now. I think they might be.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm excited. We got to bring it back round and use it this year when we go. So I'm really excited, and I straight up said, like, look, we'll probably get more snacks than what we need. So one day we're going to go around Epcot and we're just going to get a load of snacks. We're not even going to have a meal.
Yeah, no, you won't need to, but it's great because you can, they're kind of big they're all big enough that everyone can like kind of take a bite each, and everyone gets to enjoy something. And yeah, like there's that much food there that you're not going to walk out of that place hungry. So yeah, that's a really fun way to spend a day, especially during food and wine. Is just wandering around, hitting everything up, whether they do the fromage montage again this year, but
that was brilliant.
It's great. And they seem to do something like that for each festival, which is nice. So even if it's not necessarily that specifically, there will be something. If you're listening, you don't know what that is. They essentially do like a scavenger hunt for food, where you get a little, you get the kind of guide for the festival, which has the list of all the different booths and everything. And then in the back, there is a list of certain items from certain booths, and there's usually 15 or so things that you can choose from, maybe more. And if you buy 5 of those items, you get a stamp each time you buy one. And when you complete your thing, you get 5 stamps. You can take that to a different booth, and you get what's known as your completer treat, which is usually more food. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I think for like Flower and Garden, it might have been this year they were doing like spatulas or something with Spike the bee on them, so it wasn't like a dessert, it wasn't more food, but it was something arguably better that you could take home and use in your kitchen. But a lot of the time, especially during food and wine, it will be like a little something, a cheesecake, but it usually comes in a like a commemorative cup, like a little glass that's got food and wine 2026 or whatever on it as well, so you get to take that home with you, which is very nice. You don't pay anything extra for that. You just get that if you've bought 5 of these things. And obviously, if you're going around as a group of 4 people, you're going to smash that easily because you're probably buying that stuff anyway. So, and then, one of you gets to take that away with you. Yeah,
we just did it too. Like last time, we both did one. So we got 2 cups.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
I said to Ellie, we're going to try everything.
So we might as well get your stamps for everything. The other thing as well is you don't have to buy 5 different things. You could buy 5 of the same thing if it's on that list, and you will still get that little completer thing at the end as well. So, there was like a pineapple cheesecake we got from somewhere that was absolutely delicious, and Bean loved it and was like just devouring the thing. And I was like, to be honest with you, the amount of time we're here, we could probably just buy 5 of these pineapple cheesecakes over the course of a couple of weeks and get our thing through that. But yeah. Okay. What I wanted to end on today was a bit of a chat, kind of mixed in with like some tips, a little bit of advice. And it was a question that I asked myself a lot before I went for the first time. And I think everybody asks themselves, what must you take on a Disney trip if you're traveling from the UK? What are the absolute essentials? What can you leave here and buy there? But what do you need to take with you? What's like, when you first think on packing and you're not thinking of like necessarily your clothes, what else are you absolutely taking with you? Like, what's top of that list?
For me is one is a bag of some sorts that you can take around the parks.
Mm-hmm.
It's practical to carry.
Like a backpack or a fanny pack or something.
Backpack.
Yeah.
So on the first few days I use like a fanny pack, and then on the last couple of days I use a backpack. Second one is blister plasters.
Yeah.
Just in case, because I was there and I got massive blisters on both my feet, and luckily enough we had those like second skin blister plasters.
Those things are really good. Yeah.
Saved my life. I don't know if they have it there because I've not seen it, but cold and flu.
Yeah. Yeah.
I took cold and flu because I got a little bit of a cold towards the end of the trip. The Lemsip helped me. It
Yeah.
saved my life
Yeah.
and my holiday
Yeah.
because I wasn't then really, really ill. I just waited till I was at home and I was like, well, I'm miserable now. I'm home anyway, so I can deal with it.
Yeah, you're depressed anyway because you're not in Disney World anymore. So it doesn't really matter if you've also got a chesty cough. That's fine. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. We were ill for like the first week of our trip last time because Bean picked up lurgy from some of the kids she was playing with, and then that was it. We were just fighting through it for that first week until we recovered. If anyone's watched the vlogs, you'll notice on the first few videos, like my voice is just crackly and breaking. Clearly, I mean, I'm on top of the world and having the time of my life, but at the same time, my body's just like breaking down, like trying to adjust to the heat whilst also like running a mild fever and everything else. So, but yeah, man, I think blister packs are really good. I will add to that at least 2 pairs of shoes, and I'm not a shoesy person, but depending on the time of year that you go, you are probably going to get caught in some serious rain, some flash flooding type stuff. And if your shoes are soaking wet, it's pretty rough. People approach this in different ways. I know people who will take a pair of flip-flops in their backpack, and as soon as it starts to rain, they'll change into those flip-flops. And then when the rain stops, they'll whack those into like a Ziploc bag and get back into their trainers. I just take 2 pairs of trainers. So if one pair gets wet, the next day I can wear a clean, dry pair of trainers whilst the other ones are drying back at the hotel. But again, I find that helps because that's going to reduce like your blisters and like your soreness and rubbing on your feet and stuff like that.
Yeah. If we're talking shoes, so that exact thing happened to me where I only brought 1 pair of shoes. And one night I sat there for 20 minutes with a hairdryer in my trainer. However, I then got rained on again. I looked at Ellie and I went, Ellie, I can't do this again. So I actually bought some of the Mickey Not So Scary Halloween Crocs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I've still got them to this day. And
well,
I'm
going to take statement.
Well, I might take them with me. I might find more while I'm there. I don't know.
Okay.
But the reason why I didn't say it is because I bought them when I was there. So I was like, I can buy these when I was there.
You can.
Yeah, spare pair of shoes.
Yeah, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Crocs are not going to be the most cost-effective footwear that you could treat yourself to. So taking them ahead of time, definitely. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, that was it pretty much. But like, what I did is I would go into the park with socks and Crocs because I didn't like just walking around like there. It's weird to me. But when it started raining, I was like, right, quickly just take my socks off, feet back in Crocs, socks are in the bag.
Away you go.
And I was unstoppable. I had a poncho on and Crocs. I was ready to take on the world.
Yeah, man, all you needed was like a bodyboard and you'd have been good to go, just surfing through Main Street. Yeah. Banging.
I was walking through Hollywood Studios towards Tower of Terror and it was flooded.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm immortal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing's going to stop me.
Everyone else is huddling in the shops and everything. You're just strolling down the street, enjoying the weather.
That's literally what it was. Ellie was diving from shop to shop. Here's me just walking up the main road, just like, water don't stop me.
On that note, I would also advise buying ponchos ahead of time. Buying like a 5-10 pack or whatever ponchos off whatever website or anything, because you can buy that Disney poncho, and as soon as that those rain clouds start to gather overhead, believe me, you will see them in every single Disney shop because they'll wheel them out before you can blink. But those ponchos are like what, $16-17, maybe more for a plastic poncho, whereas you can get yourself like a 10 pack or whatever for probably £6 online. And again, you'll be grateful that you've got them because you just whack it on and then fold it away when you're done. Stuff like that, I think, is stuff that you don't necessarily consider ahead of time. In terms of other things that I like to make sure I take, a couple more chargers than I actually need because invariably one's going to break, and I take an inordinate amount of like tech crap with me as well. Like I take, obviously I've got like my phone, I've got my gear for filming, I've usually got my iPad so I can edit a little bit while I'm there, or just like answer emails and stuff in the evenings if I need to. I've usually got my Switch or a gaming device because I've been on like a 9-hour flight, and it's also just nice to unwind in the hotel at the end of the day sometimes by gaming a little bit. I've got my smartwatch, I've got my AirPods that need charging periodically, and that's just me. I travel with 2 other people who also carry like a mobile phone, a Switch, Kindle, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, make sure you've got enough and then a little bit more because you're going to be annoyed with yourself. It's also worth considering. You can get these from like Walmart where they're really cheap, but depending on where you're staying, you might need to consider like a strip socket thing, like a multi, because sometimes, especially if you're staying on property, like there's going to be like one plug socket and it's over on the other side of the room and everything else. That can become a little bit inconvenient. So I would say they rise to the top of my list pretty quickly. A lot of other stuff that we took first time thinking we definitely need it, we ended up realizing pretty quickly, because we always hire a car, that like a quick trip to Walmart, you're going to get a lot of like, your shampoo and a lot of that stuff over there. And it's less stuff that you have to carry. And if you just kind of get, unless you're someone who's got like a very specific brand that you absolutely have to have, then, getting a lot of that generic stuff there. It's all super cheap, especially if you go into like the big supermarkets and stuff. You don't need to pack out your suitcase on the way there to get that stuff. There's more room for you to put stuff in to bring back anyway, if you can take less. So, yeah. Right. Well, on that very sensible and serious note about keeping dry, I think unless you've got anything else to chat about, we might end it there for the
no, that's all me.
Episode. Sweet. Cool. Well, thank you very, very much for joining us for this episode of Oh No Disney Adults. As usual, you can find the Instagram account if you just search Oh No Disney Adults, as well as the YouTube page if you're not already watching this on YouTube. I went to Butlins 2 weeks ago and I filmed a load of it, and I'm going to put my Butlins video on my Disney channel, because why not?
Go for it.
Yeah, why not? I figured it would be a slightly different approach to the vlog series that I'd just done, and it absolutely was. We were very graciously given a Butlins holiday for free by the Family Fund, because it's not something I would normally think to go to, but they were just kind of like, look, here's, if you'd like to do this, you can do this. We were like, yeah, cool, okay. So we went down to Somerset and we did a week in one of their like really nice chalets, like they're like Lakeview fancy pants, like A-frame chalets. It was quite nice. It was, again, a very different speed from a trip to Orlando, but enjoyable nonetheless. So I'm going to do I think it's going to be like a 2-part thing, and that's going to go up over the next few weeks. So keep an eye out for that. If you've enjoyed listening to the podcast and you think other people might enjoy it, might find it useful for like an information tips side of things, or just entertaining, then please let people know about it. A share makes the world a difference. It really, really does. And yeah, thank you again. Cheers for coming on again, Harry. Lovely chatting with you, mate. You beautiful, beautiful man.
Always a pleasure.
And we will see you next time. Bye.